we're going to draw a skull. We're going to start with a circle. And this is just a B pencil. If you're not familiar with a B pencil, it's basically the same as your number 2 pencil that you use in skull. It's not too dark. It's not too light. I'm going to start with a circle. And what I like to do when I'm trying to keep something symmetrical, like a face, or in this case a skull, is I like to split it like this, so I know right where center is. Okay, so if you cut this in half, go a little bit lower, and right around here, we're going to draw an upside down heart. And this is just kind of placeholder shapes that we will refine a little bit later once we get everything mapped out where it belongs. But for now, we just want to use simple shapes that anybody can do. And for the eyes, we kind of want them a little bit more square on the side, almost like aviator glasses. And they go up right around to halfway up the head to where those guidelines were. So something like that. So we've got the basics started. Here's where it starts to get fun. So right here on the edge, on both sides of those eyes, we're going to draw this line that curves in. This is going to help create the look of the eye sockets, and that kind of curve up into the forehead. And it's going to make it look like those eye sockets kind of protrude. And then over here, this is going to look like a J. And this is going to be the cheekbones. And they kind of come around and almost right center of this eye socket. That's where they curve to. And then they go into the mouth over here, but we're not quite to the mouth yet. Now we're going to do over here the same way, like this, almost like a J, except we're going the other way, so an L shape. And then draw that cheekbone, and then right around the center of that eye socket, draw a line straight down. That's where kind of the mouth goes, down the side like that. And it's going to curve out just a little bit, like bell-bottom jeans, kind of, just a little. And then I'll draw almost a smiley face, kind of like a smiley face. Thanks for the... Oh, there's a bunch of you in here. Thanks for all the love and the hearts. Appreciate it. Okay, so from there, splitting it right up the center, we're going to start with that first tooth. And it's almost going to look like a, what are those little candies? Those little candy corns. And they're going to get thinner and thinner as they come over here because one tooth is kind of overlapping and they're not facing the camera directly. So see how it gets a little bit thinner on the sides? That makes it look, kind of creates depth just by making it thinner as the teeth get smaller or as the teeth wrap around the side of the head. And they don't all have to be perfect. You can make them kind of jagged if you want. Thanks for the roses. Appreciate it. Now we'll go over down to the bottom teeth. And we'll do the same thing. Appreciate the hearts too. You're tapping the screen like that. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. I know I'm missing a bunch of comments and stuff. I apologize, but it's hard to do both. All right. Now from there, let's do one more over here. So here's the fun part, right? If you go right towards the center of that bottom tooth, that last bottom tooth, it's going to curve around like that. That's the mandible or that jawbone that curves up behind those cheekbones. It's actually going to have kind of this little point like this. And now you could draw the rest of the mandible or the rest of that jawbone coming down into your little butt chin. like that. All right, and what I like to do now, I know we originally started with, excuse me, with a circle. I start with the circle to get the placement, but it usually ends up being a little bit too small. So I'm going to make the head just a little bit bigger all the way around. Like that. Now I can go and erase my OGs. OGs are the original guidelines. At least that's what I call them. So I'm going to erase. This is just a little mono fine tip eraser. Pretty cool. I use it for almost all my work. That way I can get in there real nice and tight. And precise. Okay, so we got the basic shape down. Now I'm going to go with my B pencil, and I'm going to start adding some shading. So we're going to use 3 values. We're going to use our highlights, which is the white of the paper, our midtones, which is going to be, look at my arm here. This is midtones. This is shadow, and maybe the brightest little white hairs on there. That would be your highlight. So there's not going to be much highlight. Much highlighted on our skull, so I'm going to kind of cover most of it in our midtones. This area right here, if you could see it, that's going to be our highlight. The trick to drawing realistically is to cover all your paper. The only parts of your paper that should be white, like this here, is going to be your really bright highlights. Otherwise, it's at least going to be a soft gray. So that's what I'm doing here. And you can go back and erase if you need to. But I'm just going to do my entire drawing for now. Just with that side of my pencil. If you use the side of your pencil like this, it makes things... your drawing is going to be softer, so you don't have those real hard lines like the outlines that we have over here. Yes, even the teeth are going to be slightly gray. So we've got our midtones down now. Excuse me. I'm going to go to my eye sockets. This is the same pencil. It's still my number 2 or my B pencil. I'm just going to push a little bit harder to make it darker, but for these really dark areas, I'm going to switch over to a different pencil. This is my 4B pencil. You can see it's much softer and draws much darker. So I know every time I talk about this, people just say, well, I could just push harder with my number 2. You can't. I mean, you can, and you'll draw darker. But you can't draw with a number 2 pencil as dark as you can with say a 6B. You just can't. It's impossible. I promise. You get tons of value, tons of different value and tones with a number 2 pencil. You just can't get those really dark values that you would with a softer pencil. So if you're only using one pencil, it's okay, you can do a decent job. You're just not going to be able to draw those really dark shadows, which means your whole drawing has to be a little bit lighter to contrast to make those shadows look darker, if that makes sense. All right, let's go over here. It's going to be darker here on this side. Our light source is coming from up here, in this direction. Yeah, we've got some shadow here, but it's okay. Over here, it's going to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to, it's going to be a really cool effect. Watch. I'm going to shade. Let's go a little bit lighter here. A little bit lighter again. And then this is a blending stump. It's just paper wound up really tight. And instead of using your finger like this, getting your finger all dirty that you're going to smudge your drawing with, it's going to really drive you nuts. Use a blending stump. is do quick, small little circles with firm pressure. It'll get lighter, softer and softer. And it just blends your pencil so it doesn't look so sketchy. But doesn't that look, give it dimension now, make it look like that eye socket is actually got some depth to it. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool little trick. I think it is, at least. Add a little bit of shadow over here. Same thing. And then here's another cool little trick. Or let's blend this so I can show you, so I can give you an example. So the trick is, when you're trying to get these highlights, you can't draw white on white paper, right? The only way you could do that is if you just didn't draw there or erased it. So if you have a white spot on your drawing, the only way you're going to see it is if you have at least a little bit of gray. So when you erase, it makes that highlight pop out with contrast. But the only way it makes it, the only way that works is if you have a little bit of gray. So you can have the contrast. See how it starts to make it look more 3D and kind of pop out? But that's because you have your entire drawing at least with that light mid-tone. And then watch this around the nose. This is really cool. Let me make sure it's nice and gray. Let me get this too. This is really cool. Let me make sure it's nice and gray. Let me get this too. Decline, sorry. People always try to go live with me. All right, let's get that all blended together. And then I'm gonna add the nose, and it's gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be darkest on this side and lighter over here. Gonna push really dark, and then I'm not even gonna color the other side because I'm gonna let my blending stump do the work for me. But that's still a little too soft, or too soft, I guess could be the right word. I want it to be a little jagged, kind of pointy. Something like that. And watch what happens when we erase just a little bit around the nose. These little erasers are fantastic for these small little details. I know it's very subtle, but it does make that little subtle, does make a subtle difference. It does make a big difference in the long run. I can go and maybe this little middle piece is a little bit longer. All right, now let's see. Now we're gonna add, I'm with my 4B pencil again, and I'm just gonna add the top kind of, think of this as like, how do I explain this? Well, the light source is coming from up here, so if you think of your gums or this bone part, it's gonna have a little bit of a shadow underneath. And then your teeth will protrude from them. So it's gonna be a little bit darker like that. And then over here, we're gonna draw this dark little spot like that. And then the dark side of that little cheekbone. We're kind of working in sections and piecing it all together with those shadows, so but it'll all come together in the end, I promise. And I know it looks, when we start blending like this, it makes it look really soft. And if you're drawing something that's supposed to be like the skull, you think of jagged edges and things like that, but we'll rough it up a little bit towards the end. And then right in between each tooth, it's a little bit darker. It's got this little crease, goes up there towards that nose. A little bit of shading on the side of the nose. Like that. Thanks for all the love, guys. I know I'm missing a ton of comments, and I apologize. It's hard to do. It's hard to do both. Let's see. Great TikTok, bro. Thank you, Eric. Eric the Great. All right, so I'm going to blend this a little bit. And with that 4B pencil, I'm going to start adding some of those darker shadows over here on the side of the cranium. I'm just going to go lighter and lighter. And I'm going to let my blending stump do all the work. Doesn't look very... See how I've got all these little sketch lines? That blending stump is just going to push the graphite into the paper and blend it all together for me. And I know if you haven't seen these before and you've taken art classes, it's because your art teacher didn't want you to know about these, but I promise you, most professional artists use them. Excuse me. And the reason they didn't want you to know about these blending stumps is they wanted you to learn how to use all of the different pencils in your artist toolkit. And that is definitely a good thing. Like you should use all of these different pencils to create the different tones and everything. And you should know how to do that with all these different pencils. Like I've got a bunch here. They all do different tones and different values. But these blending stumps definitely move things along, and just, in my opinion, just makes it look smoother, makes it look nicer, so it's not sketchy. And if you are doing a sketch, that's fine, and you want to see those little lines, it's fine to use. But I like to blend it out with these blending stumps, and I kind of use them like a pencil anyways. Once they're loaded up with graphite, I don't even have to put any pencil down. I could just, like right here, just push real hard to add that shading there instead of grabbing another pencil. I've even had people tell me that I'm not doing it right and get really upset for me using these blending stumps, and I thought it was kind of silly. I'm a portrait artist normally when I'm not doing my quick little tutorials on TikTok or social media. And oh, what was that? Thank you for I don't know what that was. What the hell was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. My phone jumped out at me. Something popped up. I guess I hit a goal. I didn't put a goal though, so it was weird, really weird. Anyways, I like to use these blending stumps. They just make my job a lot easier. And oh, that's what I was saying. And if I could create a more realistic drawing, a more accurate drawing by using them, why wouldn't I? Just another tool in your toolkit. All right, so now, let's see, I'm gonna go back to that 4B. Actually, let's go back to that grill. I don't have my pencil sharpener on me, so we're just gonna have to wing it. You can see this is that darker pencil, that 4B. That's much darker than our original sketch. My pencil's not sharp, so I have to be very careful not to goof this up, but It's okay. And even the teeth are going to be gray. I know you're like, oh no, what the hell's he doing? It'll make sense. Now you can go and erase little highlights. And make it stand out a little bit more. And let's see, I'm gonna go draw the bottom. Kind of looks like all these little W's. Thanks for the hearts. Appreciate it. And over here on the side, they're gonna be darker. I can draw the top of them now. So in between the top teeth and the bottom teeth, you might have a little bit of a gap, and we'll draw that a little bit darker. And I know those those teeth aren't perfect, but it's okay. And these little lines in between will eventually make it look, give it the texture and those little grooves on the jawline. Now I'm going to skip around a little bit and go real dark. In that spot there. Make it dark underneath. And then just get lighter and lighter. And I'll use my blending stump to smooth that together. Do the same thing over here. Let's draw this whole thing, dark shadow underneath that cheekbone. And then that dark shadow of the mandible. I think that's what it's called. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Darken up the bottom a little bit. And then use my blending stump to do all that hard work for me. Just makes it a little smoother. I don't know. All right, so right now it looks like a pretty smooth looking skull. And I know we were talking about we wanted it to look a little bit more jagged and kind of beat up. So now I'm just going to add these little kind of short lines like this. Just to make it look a little imperfect. And I'm paying attention. I'm trying to be careful with what direction I draw them, because that does make a big difference. Now let's grab our 4B pencil, and I'm going to add those little cracks in the skull. And I got a little, this is actually not, it's kind of where the eye socket kind of divides from the top and the bottom. And we'll draw our little jagged lines. And even in here, you've got I think that's where it actually, that's where your little hole is. It goes back to the, I guess back to the brain, or your your eyes. All the guts will go back to the back of your head. I don't know where it goes. Draw your little lines up the side. And let's see. And 20 points for anybody that could tell me what these little holes are right here. I can't remember, but they're there. And then I'm going to darken up these little spots. Like that. Use that blending stump to kind of add some more shadows here and there. And I mean, it's close. It's not perfect. But for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, I don't think it's a bad little sketch. And it's a good way to practice using your tools too, like these blending stumps and the different pencils. Really dark on that side. Same thing over here. And then, like I said, you always go back and forth, layering with these, with your blending stump, and then you go back and hit those real bright highlights with your fine tip eraser. Kind of neat, kind of fun, and definitely a good little way to practice with your different tools. With your different pencils, and just a fun way to get used to them and to break them in. But I think we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. And if you're interested in my complete master course, there's a link in my bio with all that information. You can go check it out. It's just IAmShaneBurke.com/courses. And it's pretty fun. We go over all the stuff. I have 3 courses at the moment. My fundamentals course, you kind of go over a little bit of everything. And then my anatomy and portraits course, which is a little bit more realistic and obviously focused on human anatomy. And then my wildlife course, that's my newest one. But all 3 are in there, and you could check them out. And if you have any immediate questions, shoot me an email or shoot me a DM. I'll check them as soon as I get done here. But that's all I've got for today. Hopefully yours looks just as creepy as mine. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night. Let's see. All right, see you guys.